here, Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Today is Friday, May 20th, and I am back for my stitching update. It has been 2 weeks since my last one, so I hope you've all been well and you've been stitching and making all of the things. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. This is a video podcast where I talk about my cross stitching as well as my quilting. However, if quilting is not something that you're interested in seeing or hearing about, I show it a little bit later on in the video, and I let you know in plenty of time that they or it will be making their appearance, so that way you can go on to the next Flosstube video. And if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. So how have you guys all been? I hope you had a great 2 weeks since we last sat down to chat. I do want to say a great big thank you to everybody who purchased project bags from me over the past 2 weeks. I ended up selling out 2 different times, which is a wonderful problem to have. So thank you so very, very much. Some of them went all the way to the other side of the world, which is, I'm really jealous, but it's so awesome to know that all of my project bags, they just kind of disperse and go everywhere. And I think that's really, really cool. So thank you so very much. I've had some questions about when I will be adding bags back into my shop, and I will be doing that pretty much from here on out. It just kind of depends on how the days go, but I would just check back often, because I do generally, put them in kind of later in the day if I have any. So, but thank you so very much to everybody who purchased them, as well as to all the inquiries about, when I will be adding them again. So thank you so very much. It's so very appreciated. So I've gotten a lot of questions about my flower garden. And last year, if you guys followed me last spring, we had amazing weather all spring, all summer, and it was just like a profusion of color. I mean, there was just so many things blooming and everything was just very lush and full. And this year it has been so cold and so wet that once the spring bulbs and all that were done blooming, there hasn't really been anything. Everything's growing, everything looks really good, and as soon as even if we have like an afternoon where the temperature warms up, there's no rain, you can definitely tell that everything is like grown just in those few hours. And then of course it starts to rain and it gets cold and everything just kind of stops. We're supposed to get really nice weather this next week. We're not supposed to have any rain. So I'm hoping that with no rain and warmer temperatures, everything will just kind of like spring to life. So, but everything looks really good. I only lost a couple of plants, which is really good. But everything that made it through the winter, my hydrangeas, they all look amazing. Everything looks really, really good. So I'm excited for the weather to change and then some of that stuff to start blooming. We have not planted any sort of like a vegetable patch or anything like that, because again, everything has been really cold and it's just not ideal planting weather. When it rains, it pours here and we get a lot of hail. So hopefully things are about ready to start, changing, and, maybe some of those flowering pictures will start appearing. I will go out and take a few pictures and of course insert them at the beginning of the video, but it's nothing really exciting. So hopefully the next time I do my video, you'll see some of those colorful pictures that you remember seeing from last year, maybe. Before I talk about what I have been working on over the past couple of weeks, I wanted to mention a couple of stitch-alongs. Now I know it's been a while since I have participated in one, let alone hosted one. If some of you guys have been here for several years, you might remember that I did the anniversaries of the Heart series, and I spread that out over the entire year of 2020, and it was so much fun, and a lot of you guys joined in, and it was just a blast. And then when it comes to other stitch-alongs, I haven't really participated in too many. It's been a while since I guess it was Women of the Mayflower. That was the last one I participated in, and I totally bombed it and quit working on it, and it's in the mocking basket of whip. But it's been a while since I've hosted or participated. And sometimes things work out in the funniest ways, because not only am I going to host one, I'm going to participate in one too at the same time. So let's start with the stitch along that I'm hosting, and I'm super, super rusty at doing this. I remember I've like hosted a couple of them, but it's been a couple of years and I've definitely got out of the habit of doing it. So the one that I am hosting is a design by Cherry Hill Stitchery. And Deanna had contacted me and asked if I would be willing to stitch one of her designs. She sent me 3 options to choose from. And if I didn't like any of those options, I could go check out her Etsy shop. And her Etsy shop is full of so many wonderful, great cross-stitch designs. Every single one of them is right up my wheelhouse. It's like that folk art. I love it. The Americana folk art, I just love it. So I could very happily stitch any of those designs. So she made it really hard for me to choose, but I did narrow it down to just one, and that is the Blue House Neighborhood. And the reason why I really, really like this one is because of the American flags in the front yard, as well as the blue salt box house, because I live in a blue house, and someday I hope to live in a salt box house. So I thought this particular design was perfect to kick off summer stitching. Now, it didn't originally start out to be a stitch along. That sort of happened a couple of days ago when I decided, hey, that might be kind of fun to do it with friends. So if you're interested in stitching it with me, I will start stitching it on June 14th. So that's kind of like the kickoff. It's not necessarily the kickoff to summer, but it is Flag Day here in the United States. And since there are flags on it, I thought it would be the perfect day to start. So if you're interested, the start date is June 14th, and I will be using the hashtag Blue House Neighborhood SAL. Now, Deanna has so very graciously provided a coupon code. If you go to her shop, Cherry Hill Stitchery on Etsy, and I will put a link to it down below, and put in the code PumpkinHollow10, you will receive 10% off your purchase. So definitely go, and even if you don't want to participate in the stitch along, you can use the coupon and go check out all of her wonderful designs. I think there is a little something for everybody in there. She does have paper patterns. She is not offering them currently in her Etsy shop, but you can go to your favorite local needlework shop and order one through them, or the Fat Quarter shop does carry her paper patterns or paper charts. So hopefully I can get some of you guys to join me as I stitch this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I've already decided to do it into a drum because I am crazy for drums. So I hope you will join me. Definitely go check out Deanna's shop. I think you will really, really like it. Cherry Hill Stitchery. And again, I will put a link to her shop down below. And in my next video, I will show what it is that I will be stitching it on, as well as the threads that I will be using. So I hope you will join me. So the stitch along that I will be participating in is being hosted by the Fat Quarter shop. It is a free mystery stitch along and quilt along. However, I'm just doing the stitch along, and it is called the Boo Crew Mystery Stitch Along, and I will insert a picture of it here. Again, it's gonna start sometime mid-June is kind of what I heard last. I believe they're just kind of waiting for some supplies to come in. They announced it on their blog, The Jolly Jabber, which is where all of the as they release them, that is where they will release them to, is on their blog, The Jolly Jabber. I think it's really cute. The minute I saw it, I knew I had to do it. It is not too terribly big, so definitely very doable in the 4 weeks. The original was stitched on a piece of 14 count purple Aida with classic colorworks. However, they do have a DMC conversion. They did send me, the Fat Quarter shop, they did send me a kit. The kit came with some 14 count Aida. It came with the classic colorworks, an adorable pumpkin needle minder, a cute ghost, which you could probably hang it off of your project bag. But these were so generous that they sent me a second piece of Aida, the DMC, and a project bag, and the ghost, and where did the pumpkin go? And the pumpkin to give away. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it away right now. And I realize it's the beginning of the video, but I wanted to get this all out of the way before I started talking about everything else. So if you are interested in participating in the stitch along and would like to win the kit, the question that you will need to answer down below, and of course you need to be a subscriber and like the video, is, and this is going to be like the weirdest question you're ever going to get asked, but I was thinking about it the other day, and that is, do you hang cross stitch in your bathroom? I've been thinking about it because I have a half bath that's got some really nice walls in it, and I've been thinking about hanging cross stitch in there, and I was curious, does anybody else do that? So as long as you answer that question yes or no down below, you're a subscriber, you like the video, you will be entered to win the kit for the mystery Boo Cruise Stitch Along, which will start sometime mid-June. And again, I will put a link to the Jolly Jabber so that way you can go and read all about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I've never participated in a stitch along before through the Fat Quarter Shop. I've done quilt alongs throughout the year, so this will be my first one. So I'm really, really excited. So I hope you guys will join along, and if you're interested in that kit, let me know down below. Do you hang cross stitch in your bathroom? All right, so before I talk about what I've been working on over the past 2 weeks, I wanted to show Fred really, really quickly. And I've tried to do this a couple of times, but he gets all squirmy and wants to be put down. So Fred is doing fantastic. He is totally ornery, and he will be 2 on Sunday. And I just cannot believe it. I feel like sometimes he's only been here a minute, and other times he's been here forever. And I just absolutely love him. So I wanted to show him, and occasionally he does pop up in pictures. But usually what happens is when the camera comes out is when he decides to stop doing whatever cute thing he was doing. All right, so let's talk about what I have been working on over the past 2 weeks. First thing, Ann Thomas, My Hands Across the Sea samplers. So I'm just doing this middle motif here. So I'm doing the bird, which his name is Walter. I think there was a stitch along a year or so ago. But I am doing Walter, and then the floral motif that wraps around him. And I honestly thought this would be really just like a very nice, easy, fun stitch, and it has been hell on earth. I've had so much trouble with this one, and it's just counting errors. I don't understand if it's because the chart is in color, and maybe that is what my problem is. But I can't really do black and white because some of the symbols will disappear. It is the most obnoxious thing I have ever stitched before. I spend just as much time stitching as I do ripping out. So I put it away, and it's supposed to come back out again in these next 2 weeks. And I feel really good because so many of you guys have also had the same issue. So I feel so much better. But here's my progress. I do really love it. I mean, it's such a he's so beautiful. And he's so beautiful on this linen, which is a 40 count Dusty Road by Seraphim. I'm stitching it with the called for DMC that is listed on the chart. But for whatever reason, I struggle stitching this. And I honestly, I can't even tell you why. Because I pay like lots of attention. I'm looking at the chart, I'm looking at my stitching, and I'm counting, and I have no idea. I have no excuse for why I keep messing up. But so the last time that I worked on him, I did struggle quite a bit, and I felt kind of bad about it because I feel like I didn't really make much progress. I am stitching at 1/2 on 40 count. You know, and I've had a lot of people say, well, maybe it's because of the linen, maybe it's because of the threads, maybe it's because, you know, you need to make the chart black and white. I have done a lot. I mean, trust me, I can't explain what is going on. But because I can stitch on that and I can have tons of trouble, and then I can switch and start stitching on something else and have no trouble whatsoever. So I don't know what it is. I'm going to keep going. I just feel really good in the knowledge that so many of you guys that stitched him also had the same issues. So maybe it's a cursed chart. I don't know. But I did start something new, and that is Grateful, Thankful, Blessed by With Thy Needle and Thread. And I have wanted to start this one for a really long time. a couple of different times I was ready to start it, and then for whatever reason something else came along. I think last year I was about ready to start it kind of late fall, and then I decided to start working on some Christmas. So this one's just kind of been chilling out waiting, and I finally decided to start working on it. And here is my progress, which I don't think is going to show up very good. Even in person, it's kind of, I can tell that the stitches are there, but it's not like really showing up incredibly well. And when I looked at the picture is the same way. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it. Hopefully in the video it is picking up, and I will put a picture at the end of the video that's a little bit more close up. But I really do enjoy working on this one. I had it in my rotation for 5 days and managed to work my way down to where the girl starts. So when this comes around again on my rotation, I'm hoping to get her completely stitched. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 36 count Legacy with some of the called for threads, 1/2. And I can't wait to get back to this. I'm really looking forward to it because every now and again I do see it finished on Instagram and Facebook, and it's so beautiful, and I just cannot wait to have it done this year for fall and have it up on my wall. And next up is Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. So I've been working on this one quite a bit over the last couple of months. My goal is to get this finished by the end of the year. I'm currently working on this block here, and I love working on it so much. I always look forward to when the time rolls around for me to work on it each week. I absolutely look forward to it, and I cannot wait. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 40 count Vintage Country Mocha with a DMC Threads 1/2. And I did do a lot of changes to this particular block. So underneath here, the stream is supposed to be a totally different color because there are fish that you're supposed to stitch in the stream, but I opted not to put them in. I decided to darken up my stream a little bit. I was kind of going for that country, like landscape look. And then the pumpkins here, they're all supposed to be, well, I changed the pumpkin colors completely. It was supposed to be a very bright orange color, and I decided to tone it down a little bit. So there are 3 different colors in the pumpkin. I did 2 different colors of orange, and then I did a white one. And I really love how it turns out. There are stems. I decided to do the stems in kind of a light, I guess it would be kind of like a mid tannish color, because I thought, pumpkins sitting in a pumpkin patch, they're, usually the stems are starting to darken, especially when all the leaves are gone. So I decided to change the color of the stems as well. The original had it being like almost like a neon green, and so mine are, I guess, a lightish tannish brownish color. So then tonight I will go, hopefully, it depends on how long it takes me to edit the video, but I'm hoping tonight to go in and finish filling in this tree here. And once I do that, I will drop down, and I have some lawn I need to finish here. There's some wording here, and then down here, I think it's supposed to be mountains. That's what it kind of looks like to me, is a line of mountains. There it is right there. So my goal is to get this finished by the end of the month. So I still have a little bit ways to go. So I'm hoping I will be able to make that happen. I also made one tiny change. So earlier on, I've kind of talked a little bit about how I was eliminating this line of blocks right here, because I was also planning on stitching Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. So I thought, well, I'll take these 2 and I'll put them in that one, because there was quite a few blocks in there that I kind of wanted to swap out. But I eliminated Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow from the mocking basket of whips, and it's right there. But I eliminated it. So by doing that, I decided to put these 2 blocks back into my Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow. So I will be stitching the full chart now. So I am looking forward to it. I'm glad about that decision. just because, you know, once I had made that decision to not have that particular chart anymore in the mocking basket, I thought I need to put it back on my Autumn Mahogran Hollow. So it's going to take me a little bit longer than I originally anticipated, but I think it's going to be super worth it in the end. All right, so I did have some finishes over the past couple of weeks, but before I do that, a quick question I had, and I meant to ask this in my last video, but I have this booklet, Winds of Autumn by Blackbird Designs, and while I was stitching Mighty Acorn, I had, here's the top of it, and here's the middle. So it is totally like pulled away. And I was wondering if any of you guys had a good tip on how I can repair that, or have you taken your booklet into like Staples or one of those places and had them do the spiral? So if you could let me know down below what you do to kind of, you know, fix issues like this, because I know over time I'm going to lose one of these. So I definitely don't want to do that. So if you have any suggestions, please let me know down below. My first finish is October 31st by Blackbird Designs. So this is out of the Winds of Autumn book. In my last video, when I showed this one, you know, it was still something that I was in progress of stitching. And that particular day, we had like a series of storms that just kind of blew in that day and then all through the weekend. So it was just constant, dark, rainy clouds. It would just dump rain and then it would move on. But it was like constant throughout that video. And right when I was showing my progress on everything that I was stitching, it got really dark in here. And of course, that's just the time when I decide to show the piece that is the darkest linen. So even I was having a hard time when I was editing it, seeing the threads. But this is my finish. So I did finish it into the drum that the pattern, you know, you have the chart and then you have the directions on how to finish it into a drum. And I feel like the Blackbird Designs directions on finishing the pieces into drums is spot on. It was very easy to follow. So this is the third drum I have done out of one of their patterns. And I can't wait to do another one. I love drums. I'm just like, I just want to like drum all the things. So this particular chart, it calls for you to use Gentle Arts Onyx. And I decided that I wanted there to be 3 different colors. So I use Gentle Arts Black Licorice, Gingersnap for the orange, and the like the off-white light beige is Caramel Corn, all by Gentle Arts. And you're supposed to stitch it 2 over 2. I ended up doing 1 over 2, and I didn't realize it until I had gone a little ways into it. And then I just decided the coverage was fine. I was gonna leave it. The linen is a 32 count winter Wren, and I used a piece of black reproduction fabric out of my stash. But I absolutely love how this turned out. So I ended up using mat board behind my stitching. So I've got a piece of mat board, there's like 3 pieces of batting, and then the stitching. I kind of wished I would have used a couple of extra pieces of batting, but that's just something I'll kind of file away for my next project. I also put mat board behind this piece of linen as well, just to kind of make it a little bit more sturdy. And then I just stuffed it until it was nice and full. I really love how it turned out, and I think it's going to look really awesome with all of my Halloween decorations. It's definitely like my color palette for Halloween. So for this next finish, as I was working on it, I was trying to like put into, because I knew I was going to do my video, so it's like, how do I explain why I decided to not necessarily give up on it, but why I decided to go ahead and fully finish it. So a lot of you guys know that I have this basket. It's this square rectangle-y type basket, and that's where I store all of my current rotation and my long-standing whips, and I call it the mocking basket of whips because it's in my bedroom, and every time I walk past it, it mocks me with all of my unfinished projects. There was a project in there. It's one of the oldest ones. because now that I'm working on autumn at Hawk Run Hollow, I don't consider that to be my oldest project. This one was, and that is Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. So when I first got into cross stitching, I fell in love with the Hawk Run Hollow series. And the first one, of course, no surprise, was Autumn. And right after I got Autumn in the mail, I was following Carriage House Samplings on Facebook. There's like a couple of different, I was following, there was a group on there. I don't remember what the name of it was. I know that the designers, Kathy Barrick and Marty Barrick, are part of that group because I see them from time to time commenting on finished items from the Hawk Run Hollow series. I don't think that they're the moderators of the group, but it has something to do with the Hawk Run Hollows. They announced they were going to put out this Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow, so I pre-ordered it, got it, loved it, started working on it, got this block done, set it aside, and then a little bit later on, I worked on this block and finished it, and then it sat, and it sat, and it sat, and it sat. And a lot of the reason why it sat was because I just really wasn't like feeling very motivated to work on it. And there was a couple of times it actually ended up out of the whip basket and dekitted and just kind of like, I'll be back type of situation. But as time went on, I just never really regained the original love I had for that particular chart. I mean, I love it. It's beautiful. I've seen it in person, completely finished. It's beautiful. But for me, it just did not float my boat anymore. And I feel like from the time that I started it until now, I feel like, you know, like my cross stitch aesthetic is definitely like changed. And I love all of the Hawk Run Hollow series. I just didn't particularly love this one anymore. Now that I had decided to break up with my Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow piece, the question was, what do I do with it now? Because I did not want to just basically take it out of the project bag where it had been folded up for the past couple of years and stick it in a drawer, never to be seen or heard from again. I wanted to be able to have it out and around my house during Halloween. But I didn't necessarily like the idea of framing it. I wanted to do something else different with it. And it was while I was working on my October 31st that I thought it would be such a great idea to turn it into a drum because it was like the perfect size. But I didn't know how to take something that had no directions whatsoever and turn it into a drum. And I remember that Vanna, the Twisted Stitcher, had a tutorial for drum making. So I went and I watched it and I made it into a drum. So I think it looks really, really good. So it was my first attempt at making a drum with no directions, and I feel like it went pretty well. There are a few construction issues. For instance, you know, you're supposed to like stuff it, and then stuff it again, and then stuff it one more time. But so I did that. I stuffed it, and I was like, is it enough? I'm gonna stuff it 2 more times, and then I'm like, that's good enough, and I closed it up. And I realized I probably should have stuffed it again. But I think all in all, it looks really good. I was able to use some of the walnut shells that Rosalie sent me, which helps it add a nice weight. And so it was perfect. And now I just need to work up the gumption to use it as a small or use it in my smalls. But I definitely see the benefits of using walnut shells inside your stitch pieces. So I'm really, really glad that I made that decision. I feel a whole lot better. I still do love, you know, the Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. And at some point, if I get the urge to stitch it, then I'll just restitch it. But for right now, I'm really happy with my decision of just sort of saying, you know, calling it Quitsville and then turning it into something that now I can display every Halloween from here on out. So I love it. Thank you so much to Vanna for your great tutorial. I do know one thing that I'm going to do different, and so in the tutorial she has you put a batting here. You're supposed to stack the batting from like biggest to smallest, and I wish I would have done a few more pieces of batting. So that is something that I will be doing next time, and I can't wait for my next drum finish because it was so much fun to do. So I stitched this on a piece of 40 count Vintage Country Mocha with the DMC that was listed on the chart, 1/2. And I love it, love it, love it. And the fabric is some Civil War reproduction that I had in my stash. And it was the perfect, like, not like lime green, but just a little bit darker, but not quite darker, but green. That makes sense. It basically was just a really nice green color that went with a lot of greens that were in the piece. So I love it. In my last video, I did have a giveaway, and thank you to everybody who entered to win. I really, really, really enjoyed reading through all of your comments. There were 2 giveaways, and the first winner is for the Plum Street Liberty Welcome chart, and that winner is Stacy Varga. And Merry Christmas, the winner of that is Debbie Miller. So congratulations. If you guys can get a hold of me via email, all of my contact information will be listed down below in the description box. If you email me, send me your address, I can get your prizes out in the mail to you soon. So again, thank you so much for playing. So as far as all of the cross stitching goes, that is all I have to talk about in this video. I am going to show some happy mail that I received from the Fat Quarter shop, as well as I'm going to talk about some quilting. So if that's not something that you're interested in seeing or hearing about, this is a great stopping off point. My plans for the next 2 weeks cross stitching wise will be to continue working on my Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow piece. I also am going to take another crack at Ann Thomas. I'm hoping that whatever curse haunts it will lift so I can stitch it much, much easier than I have been able to. Don't know what's going on with that piece. But I will be working on both of those. And then I have a couple of free days that, because my main focus is going to be to make sure I get that one block in Hawk Run Hollow finished. Depending on how long that takes me, I do have some free days. And so I haven't quite decided what I'm going to fill those days with. So I'm just going to kind of wait until it gets a little bit closer. But other than that, those are going to be the 2 that I will be focusing on. And then I do have a new morning stitch that I will be starting. So that'll be a lot of fun. Now, if you are staying for the quilting, but you're not interested in seeing what the Fat Quarter shop sent me, I will put a timestamp right here of when the quilting starts. Otherwise, I will see my fellow cross-stitch friends in a couple of weeks. Have a good one. So I did receive a package from the Fat Quarter shop of new items that are available now on their website, and I will put a link to the Fat Quarter shop down below. The first item that they sent me is a Mad for Plaid project bag in Bluebell. They sent me another one in Peony, which the peonies here, some of them are getting ready to bloom. And they sent me one in a color called Misty, which is kind of reminds me of like Winter Fresh candy canes. A cross-stitch chart by Lori Holt of Bee in My Bonnet called Cut, Press, Sew. So cute. So cute. A quilt pattern designed by Crystal Stahl of It's So Emma called Amaryllis Quilt Pattern. So pretty. Pretty, pretty. Some quilt block foundation paper called Snail Trail, and this makes the 6-inch block. And I saw somebody, they made this and somehow they did it in a way that it looked like a log cabin. It was pretty cool. And the 12-inch size of Snail Trail. So all of those items are available now at the Fat Quarter shop. And again, I will put a link down below to their website. Thank you so much to the Fat Quarter shop for sending those items my way. And look for some of those in a future giveaway video or in a future video with a giveaway. All right, let's talk about quilts. So last week I didn't do any quilting whatsoever. I meant to a couple of different times. I meant to go out and do some long arming for myself because I have the Jane Austen quilt that I'm like dying to get quilted. And I just have not had any, because it's such a big quilt and the motif I want to put on it is kind of time consuming. I just haven't had like a big enough block of time to, to do it. So, and then this week I was quilting for clients. So it's kind of like a balance, I guess. But when Monday rolled around of this week, I realized I didn't have any quilting to show in this video if I didn't do something. So I kind of looked through my projects, and I really, really wanted to do another month in the Civil War tribute quilt, but I thought, no, I need to be responsible. So instead, I decided to work on my Block Bonanza. So at the beginning of this week, I had March, April, and May's blocks to do. So that's 12 altogether. And I realized that it's almost the end of the month, which means that June's will be releasing and will be arriving in the mail. So I better get my act together. So over the past couple of evenings, what I would do is when I had a free moment, I would pull a block and I would cut it out, and then I would just kind of lay it on the paperwork and stack the paperwork up. And then that way, whenever I had free time, whether it's an hour, half hour, what have you, I can put a block together. So I was able to get 2 months done. I was able to finish March and April. So all I have to do is May's, and here are the blocks. And what I really like about this particular block right here is right here in the Temecula album quilt, there it is right there too. It's a very popular one in Civil War quilts. There is this one, which I absolutely love this block. It's one of my favorites, and it was the very first block in the Civil War tribute quilt as well. So I did this one and this one here. I love these colors so much. This particular quilt is being done out of Joe Morton's Rose fabric line, which is fantastic. Absolutely beautiful. And this one here. And this one. And this one, which I love it. And this one. I love all these colors so very much. I just love them. I cannot wait to get the whole entire quilt done. So that is all the quilting I did. Now, the quilt that's behind me, the Temecula album quilt, this is the last time you will see it for a while. The next time I do a video, I will have a different quilt hanging up here. And in fact, I'm getting ready to change everything out to Americana 4th of July. So I will be doing that over the next 2 weeks. I'm a little sad to be taking this one down, but I think it will make a reappearance later on in the summer. But yeah, I didn't really do a whole heck of a lot. I spent a lot of time window shopping for fabric lines and things like that. Looking through my quilt books and dreaming of all the projects I have that I want to get to. But as far as like quilting for myself, that's all that I managed. Over the next 2 weeks, I would really, really, really like to get the May, those 4 blocks in May done. So that way, when June rolls around, I'm totally caught up with Block Bonanza, and then I'm just in the current month. I've had a lot of you guys ask me also why you have not been seeing any progress on my Dear Jane quilt, and that is just because I haven't really had time to like sit down. You know, it's each block is one you really have to think about. It's not something you can just whip out in 20 minutes. I wish. Some of those blocks take like an hour to put together, if not longer. So it's definitely one that you have to sit down with, and I just really haven't had the patience or the time to sit down with it. But it's definitely one that I do want to continue working on. It's just for whatever reason, I need to find the motivation again to get back to it, I guess. But I do want to try to crank out another month of my Civil War tribute quilt. The third month has 2 18-inch blocks and 2 12-inch blocks, so they're huge blocks. So I would like to get back to that and hopefully get another month done. Or even if it's just like a couple blocks of that month, I would like to get those done. So not huge plans, but you know, it's plans all the same, I guess. And hey, progress is progress. Even if I do a little bit, it's still something. Well, guys, that brings me to the end of my video. It's always kind of sad when we have to part ways. But the plan is to be back in 2 weeks, and I will show what I have been up to between now and then. So I hope you guys have a great 2 weeks. If you'd like to see what I'm up to in between my videos, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. And I do have a Facebook page, which is Pumpkin Hollow Quilting. And I will put all of the information on how you can get in touch with me and everything that I've shown and talked about and all of it down below in the description box. I really appreciate you guys stopping by today, and I really hope you have a fantastic couple of weeks. And I hope I'm not forgetting anything, but if I do, I will make sure to mention it in my next video. Other than that, I will see you guys again later. Bye-bye.